If this works now. Can you hear me now? It would seem as if the mic is on now. I'm sorry for that. We're watching Crazy 8 and Morlockk. This is the 7th round of the losers bracket. And let's check what happened here in the opening. So, white won a pawn. Very strange pawn formation here. Obviously, black needs to be a bit careful here about the e6 square so it doesn't get forked there. Yes, it's been a long time. So this bishop could become very strong here. It's threatening the rook on h1, and if or when the rook moves here, black will take on e4, threatening to take on f3 with a potential fork on f3. So maybe this is some sort of preparation, although the time spent by black would indicate that it isn't prep. So, threatening knight at e6, but I'm pretty sure black will take on h1 and allow the fork. Black is quite safe here with the knight defending f7, so maybe a rook here on g1. Or do you pick up the knight? The problem is that if you pick up the knight, queen... I wonder if queen e6 is a problem, although you could defend the bishop with king f8. So, what to do here with black? Also, notice you have a knight here in hand, so this is quite dangerous. Black is threatening rook e1, king d3, knight b4 maybe, picking up the queen on c2. Not so easy to find a continuation here for white. The black bishop here is doing a tremendous job defending the black squares, and the knight is defending the white squares. So black looks safe here. And the white king does not look so safe. And the question is, does this threaten anything? I don't think white can give it the queen for the rook or the bishop. Although you always need to be careful here about stuff like queen takes, bishop takes, rook e8, king takes, queen here, king moves, queen takes here. Yes, that is a threat. So queen takes d8 seems to be a threat in this position. But it's black's move. Now you can pick up the bishop with check, possibly capture the queen here. So what do you do now? Taking with the rook here is one possibility, because if king takes, you have knight b5. If pawn takes, maybe you have bishop d3 or something. Or knight d2. Crazy 8 is usually very precise, even though he has his lone time. So now king takes here will allow knight a6 followed by knight takes c7. But the only other option is king b5. What now? a4 seems like a pretty safe spot. Also, black needs to be a bit careful about what pieces he gives away. And it looks like the white king is heading for safety here. Yeah, a7 seems pretty safe. And now surely there's something for white. Yeah, there it is. Let's have a look and see what the computers think about this. So this was probably some sort of prep. Seems playable for black. The computer recommends bishop h4. But this looks very playable also. And indeed, picking up the rook gave black the better position. Here actually the computer recommends taking with the rook on d8. Still good for black though. And what is the best move here? So apparently knight at e8 is good for black. But he played the check again, and this is very hard to analyze. So difficult. So knight c3 was probably a mistake. Correct move, and here bishop at e8 would have decided the game. And after this, yeah, it's still a mess. Okay, so it seems as if white is better. Okay, and won. Interesting game, and we have come a long way in this game. Let's see what Crazy 8 has prepared here. So, let's count the pieces. Black has 3 pawns for 2 knights. That seems like decent compensation. The white king is a bit weak here on f2. And here bishop b5 pins the queen, wins the queen. The question is, does black have some sort of attack here? He only has 1 knight though. I was thinking knight e4, but white could just move his king. So this looks like it's probably good for white, at least in theory. This is a nice move because after black takes on b5 and knight takes, you don't want to spend a tempo protecting c7. So the check here protects the c7 pawn with tempo. And this is a very typical move, weakening the white pawn structure, probably preparing knight e4 check if white takes here. Knight e4 when knight takes g3 will come. So white is a bit gutsy here and takes with the king instead. Now this is a nice move, cutting off the king, attacking the knight. And knight at e4 is probably a big threat here. If the king heads back, you have discovered the discovered check. Maybe knight c3 to protect e4 from the check. Welcome all of you who are watching. Crazy 8 down to his last 20 seconds here. Crazy 8 trying to find a tactical solution to his defensive problems. What happens if you take here? Or what happens if you check here? So this move tries to open for the black b6 bishop as well. And the white king seems caught in the crossfire here. But can he maybe move down to the queen side? So what is the idea here? This threatens the rook, maybe preparing knight takes c7 and then picking up b5 with check. I don't know how this game went so wrong. Has it gone wrong? I'm not so sure. If black had an extra pawn now, he would play pawn at c3 for sure, opening up a weakness and then plant a knight on c4. So this isn't quite as good. Pawn d2, I think Crazy 8 will capture maybe. So this could pick up the... But why didn't he play it this way instead? Knight takes c7, bishop takes, queen takes, and then take on c4. That looked like a better way. So it seems like white is okay again. He has so much material, so he doesn't have to worry much about the queen hanging. He can just start attacking the rook. For instance, knight takes, pawn takes, king takes, bishop b5, picking up the knight. So I think white is in the driver's seat here. And maybe I think white missed some sort of mating attack there, maybe. But it doesn't matter, he has everything under control here. This pins the queen, and the king can take care of himself. And once the queen goes, it's pretty much over, I think. King g6, queen at h5. And here comes the other queen somehow. Let's watch that game in slow motion, I was about to say. So black just going for the attack here. And apparently king f1 was the correct choice here. Makes sense, because this is super dangerous. And here, I didn't get it. Why black play knight e4 here? That was what he prepared. Yeah, thank you. See you after dinner. This is good, but now after king d2, suddenly white is back in business. And here, as I said, taking on c7 makes more sense. But white is better. And here there's a forced mate beginning with knight b8 check. Did black miss anything in the end? I don't think so. Nope. Okay, let's get back to the game. And obviously this is prepped by Crazy 8. This is a prepare line. A super sharp line, I should add. And I think both players are out of the book, for sure. This knight here, where is this going after, for instance, pawn e3? Then you can take it, and maybe, if you're lucky, fork on e6. Do you trade it this way? Or do you just play chess for a few moves and wait for a better opportunity to trade the knight? So white reckons his king is safer in the corner, and I do think he's correct. I notice now that Morlockk is actually above 2600, which would make him the rating favorite, but I still think Crazy 8 is the at least 2-1 favorite in this match. But maybe Morlockk will prove me wrong. So this is a typical maneuver. You go here, you provoke slightly passive pawn drop. And even this looks like black is perfectly fine. He has they've traded a piece for 2 pawns, so black is a piece ahead, but 2 pawns short. But the pawns that white has on the board, they aren't very well coordinated, so if black can stop white from pushing the pawns, I think black will be in great shape here, but you always risk an avalanche of pawns coming, maybe starting with c3 and then they could just keep coming. I'm a bit surprised he traded on d4. Wasn't it better to play c3 here and prepare a slow pawn advance? Because now with the heavy in hand, you're threatening rook checks somewhere maybe. Rook check on g1, queen takes, bishop takes. I don't think you can take with the rook then, because black has queen takes f4 with the threat of queen f2 mate. So you would need to take with the king. And here's the same finesse, or variation of it. Threatening knight check on f2. So black has the initiative in this position. Let's move the king. Knight takes here. Threatening something maybe on f2. So you need to take on d1 then. And then what? Looks like white is pretty safe here. But there's always this last rank thing. With two heavies in hand. Do you check on f1 maybe? But the rooks will make a great castle for the king. And black only has queens in hand. Rook at f2 here. Yeah. So very interesting position. Both players low on time. Yeah, pick up that defender. Black working the last rank. Maybe queen at d1, yeah, precisely. And black is all in here. He needs to deliver mate, I think. And white is crashing through here. Good game. Let's see if Crazy 8 missed something. Here, in this position, actually not f6 seems better. Bishop at e5. A lot of suggestions here. This will be... People will start analyzing this. My suggestion was c3. Well, it looks good too. But this was quite unnecessary. Knight at h3. Or, well, it's problematic already. And this was strong, taking g3 and then take f4. Excellent attack here. And it was actually better to take on d1, because now white is suddenly better. Bishop at e2. Super defensive, but apparently strong. And here's black's last chance. Take with the queen there, take on f1, and now bishop f2. Look, bishop f2. What happens here? Rook e2. Yeah, this is cute. Then you take here and drop your next rook on e1. So bishop f2 was the move, and here you can calmly play queen takes f1. Or can you? Because you have a shitload of pieces in hand as white. So what happens after? Maybe the computer needs to think a little while here. But I don't think there is anything. Is there? No. If he had a queen, it would be a completely different story. Oh well. It's 2-1 Morlockk. And what do we have here? I'm very surprised by this opening. Not like I have complete control of what Morlockk is playing, but he seems like more of a mainline guy, and this is clearly out of the book, and I wouldn't say clearly dubious, but I think it looks a bit dubious for black, actually. So, yeah, I was thinking about this. And the point is, if you take on g5, white will pick up a pawn quickly and then threaten everything here. And it's nice with the pawn here on d3, protecting e4, making this bishop less impressive. Well, one way to go here would be actually to take on f6. If the queen takes, you can take on trade and then take on f7. When taking with the king would lose because of knight e5 and queen f7. Bishop takes, and then knight takes instead, and knight g5. That was what I had in mind. I don't know. Black looks really passive there, but maybe it's okay. So this seems natural, putting the rook on the semi-open file. White could even go knight takes b5, rook takes c7. So this move protects c7. Maybe take on f6. Or am I too optimistic? I was thinking queen takes. Well, you could even go pawn f7 then. But this looks... Hi there. Oh, you're welcome. This still looks good for white, I would say. Material is balanced, but the black king is in some sort of jeopardy here, I think. Oh, that looks dangerous. Very dangerous. Just look out for the knight h3 counterattacks with a possible smothered door. So this protects the crucial squares and attacks e6 also with tempo. And after this, I think white is crashing through. Not sure what the next move is, but here certainly bishop takes e6 is worth looking at. Still covering h3 here. So e5. And bishop at e5 here. Or g3. 2-2. White is okay in this match. And yeah, queen takes f7 is certainly a possibility here. Knight at g4 looks strong. I was thinking about this move, and indeed it looks strong. So white is just killing here. It doesn't even pick the best moves, but he's so much better. Knight at g4 was the quickest mate, but this is forced also. Okay. And we have the same line again. I wonder if Morlockk has checked the line in between the games. I don't have any time in between the games really, but so they've been varying a little bit. And there's a difference here because the knight isn't on h6. And that's a huge difference, actually. A huge difference. Maybe this is good for white. This move tries to provoke black to insert either his knight or rook here in between, but also it covers f3. Look at the f3 square, where black would love to plant his knight, almost forcing mate, but after king e2 that was the knight d4 check threat possibly. So here the idea is, of course, to pick up the queen with check. Does black go the other way, maybe? Yes, it does. And this is so sharp. Let's see. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Can you take with the queen here? And then take with check on d8? I don't know. But here white is threatening probably pawn here, queen d7. And he does seem to have everything under control. Except you need to move the king now. Does black have anything? This at least covers e6, so you have the time to take on d8. Yeah, this is mate. Pawn takes, queen b7. No, you can go to e6 then. But where is the mate here? I was thinking king here. Queen c6. Oh, he has 2 pawns. I'm stupid. Okay, but this way. Where is the mate now? Because he can keep running. And this is a really nice knight covering e6. The rook is also participating a little bit in the defense. So this is a very crucial game. Queen, knight and pawn in hand. Is there something forcing for white here? If there isn't, he might be dead. So now this bishop is a more active defender. I would run for my life, yeah. And why not on the dark squares? They seem a little bit safer. Maybe even h6 could prove a safe haven for the black king. So what's this? I wonder if that was a blunder. Black wants to take the queen with check. Maybe it wasn't a blunder. It does seem as if you can drive the king to the d file and pick up the queen with check. And this should be over now. Yep. That was a break in the game. Let's see. Same opening, which has brought us some very interesting positions. But here, taking on c2 doesn't seem like the best move. Okay. Bishop f6 seems better. And this is indeed good for white. And queen a4 was the best move. Interesting. And actually black could have got away with taking on f7. Huh. Okay. I was thinking for a while you could go like this, but maybe I'm wrong. No, it's actually a mate in 11. So that would have been winning immediately. So this gave black some possibilities to breathe a little bit, but here white missed a quick mate. And the difference here is that you don't give the e6 escape square. This is really nice. Like this. Here, and interpose. Shut the exit, and then checkmate. Okay, that was nice. Very instructive mate. This is still good. Actually, it's mate in 6. But he picked the wrong square for the pawn. This is natural because it closes the e6 escape route. And now black quickly started running towards the king side. And actually black is winning here. Knight e6. Oh, it's black who's winning. Yeah, black is mating. Okay. So where were we? We were here. Another prep by Crazy 8. And this looks like a very bleak reaction, if I may say so. A super bleak reaction. I don't like this at all for black. Although I think maybe white could have made more of it. Was it really necessary to give back the piece? I don't think so. But white has castled. He has the extra space and the stronger center. This knight is on some sort of excursion here near the edge. And this semi-open f5 will probably hurt black in the end. That is my prediction. And you might even consider taking on f5 here as white. Pawn takes, knight at f6. Take, or do you get mated down here? Yeah, it looks risky. So why not just protect the d4 pawn? The thing here is that black risks running out of moves. White can develop, move the bishop from c1, get the knight out, and what is black supposed to do? So where's the king going? Is he thinking about castling long? Well, I could start running my a pawn, and you probably will regret that decision. So this is basically chess with an extra piece in hand for white. He decides to make use of his extra piece immediately. Maybe we might discuss if that was the best choice. He could have kept it a while longer, maybe. But I think white is in great shape here. So indeed he went for the long castle. But this is always more dangerous of castling long because of this weak pawn and trying to get rid of the knight. It won't end well. Black is being tricksy here. So I'm thinking maybe, yeah, trade the queens. Although the knight is hanging here. So well, c7 is weak. There's a queen trade coming. And black switched gears, going home with his queen. Didn't want the queen trade. And surely white is winning here. The question is how? Because these pieces are quite annoying. Threatening mate on, threatening pawn f2 check, threatening rook f1. And how do you even defend? Oh, it's a super mess, this position. The bishop covering f1 and the rook is covering f1. And white wants to play rook b8 check. Also the queen is hanging, so well now surely. Okay, yeah, this should be enough. Two rooks and a knight. Was that the right place for that knight? Oh, what happens here? Yeah, this should be enough. Rook b8 mate. 4-2, crazy 8. So what is clearly better here? Was there anything better? Well, this seems fine, but bishop h3 was a bit passive, I think. And here, actually, black is bouncing back nicely. Very unclear position. And why did he allow white to take with check on c7? That was a big mistake. And now black is back. Rook at d1. Okay. So very messy end here, but white never lost the thread quite in the end. This was forced the whole time. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what has happened here. Morlockk switching to... No, actually Crazy 8 switching openings. And this is interesting to note that instead of damaging the white pawn structure or gaining a piece, he chooses to just develop. But this knight doesn't look very nice here on the rim. So black decides to open the game. And we have a position. Hi there everybody in the chat. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to type them in the chat. What is going on here? I'm not sure I like the pawn e5 idea. Wasn't there anything better? I'm thinking maybe knight b4 with the idea either to play bishop c6 or maybe even take on c2. Well, I don't know. They played something in the game. Black putting his wood on the board. I guess black is doing fine here. And this is very sharp, inviting a queen trade. But who would benefit from the queen trade after pawn takes, queen takes, king takes? What do you play there? Because white is threatening knight c7 check. And if black trades on d5 here, I think white will check on c7 and take back, rather than taking with a pawn. So it does look like black has been too eager to open the position. Well, at least now you can take back with the rook if white decides to trade. But let's say you play pawn g2 here. Pawn g2. Do you take on g2? King takes g2. I don't see how black can keep the attack going, really. But this looks interesting too. I mean, you have knight at c7. So just be careful about rook takes, queen here. King takes c7. I don't think there is anything. But Crazy 8 resign there. Yeah, here black is fine. And e5 is actually fine too. Here bishop at e4, that looks tremendous. Bishop at e4, threatening g2 and d5. That is, of course, the move in this position. And c6 is just too wild, it seems. Nice reaction by white. And here black got a bit desperate, but the position was bad anyway. Knight at d6 was a mate in 7. Yeah, the position is just hopeless. Okay, it's 4-3 in favor of Crazy 8, who needs 1.5 points more. It's best out of 10 games. And apparently Crazy 8 forgot his preparation here. One idea when black plays this is to go knight takes e5, and then if the bishop takes on d7, you take back with a knight winning a pawn. If white takes on e4, simply taking back with the pawn gives a lot of compensation. And I don't quite follow white's idea here. What if we just take? Because it's, as soon as you take on e6, you have a pawn in hand, which fits neatly on f2. Morlockk is thinking. And he did take the bait. So let's see what Crazy 8's idea is here. I suppose you could go, yeah, pawn f6 instead of taking e4. But what would ever happen if you go pawn takes pawn here? What is so dangerous? I'm thinking pawn takes pawn, maybe knight e5, and then pawn f6. Do you play knight at f7? Okay, I take your knight. You can take my queen. I take back with my rook. So I'm not really convinced here by white's opening play. The idea by white was, well, it wouldn't have worked, would it? Well, I guess the idea was bishop takes, queen takes, and then a knight fork on c7. But this protects c7, so no knight fork anymore. and black just picks up a clean pawn. So this deflects either the bishop or the queen from the bishop on d5. The question is, what do you take with? I suppose queen takes d5. Threatening pawn f7 mate, so black will not have time to take with the queen and pick up the rook. But he can get started checking. The question was, do you play pawn g3 here first? No, maybe not. King f1, you have knight e3. So it's not so easy to find a safe spot for the white king here. Not at all. Both players with weak kings here. So do you go pawn check, or this gives black the extra opportunity of running towards g7 maybe? You can pick up the knight with check. Running towards g7 was impossible there because white could just take here and you would have pawn checks. Yeah, looks like white is taking this. So sorry there, Morlockk, but yeah, nice attacking game there by Crazy 8, who only needs a draw in the last two upcoming games. So I thought this was a dubious idea, but actually taking on e6 sort of justified the idea. Taking on e4 is the natural choice here. Unclear position. Actually, he could have just... What is the idea after this? Pawn f2 check. And bishop b6 check covering. That's nice. So black had the right idea here, covering c7, but it wasn't so well executed. And here, actually, the black king is more unsafe than the white. Pawn f7, yeah, speaks for itself. It's made in 5. Funny he should miss that. But this is winning anyway. It's made in just a few more moves. Knight h5 was quicker, but this is still mate. Well, it's winning anyway. So what do we have here? Morlockk switching to another line. And apparently Crazy 8 caught him off guard with this move, protecting c7. So let's see how Morlockk reacts here. I mean, you would like to push and push and push the knight away from the defense, but c4 opens for, well, there's a queen check on e4, and it's not clear how that would benefit white. It probably wouldn't at all. So white prepares the pawn avalanche here by protecting the king from the check on e4. You could play a6 maybe, and if c4 comes, just move out of the way, and if d5 comes, you just take on b5. Both players spending a lot of time here in the opening. So now white has d5, but and what happens here? I thought it would take the other knight, but black just lost a piece, but he has some compensation because he can hunt the queen, and he has tremendous pressure here on the knight, and the king and the rook, they are behind the knight. So maybe a pawn on a3 will make the cracks appear in the white position. Pawn a3 seems very natural. But you could also go for maybe bishop takes. I mean, if the queen takes, you could trade and pawn d2 maybe. And if the pawn takes, you could go knight e4. So Crazy 8 is calculating here like crazy. He picked another option. But now the pin is gone. And it's not so easy to put pressure anymore. I think this was a mistake by black. Yeah, he needs to get the bishop out somehow. This is nice, threatening a lot of things. So maybe, I don't know. This is better rather than allowing pawn takes. And simply take here, threatening the rook in the corner. Black's forces depleted. He resigns. And maybe that was a very good game by Morlockk. D5, yeah, this is very good for white. But in this position, I'm wondering... Yeah, bishop takes c3 was very interesting. Oh well. After this, I think white was just cruising towards victory. Let's get back to the game instead. And we see a e4, e6 line. Morlockk switching openings again. An early h5. This could quickly become dangerous. As white here, I would love to just play d4 and bishop g5, keep the h-pawn under control. So maybe d3 now, protecting the knight. And now the question is, do you want to play bishop e2 and take back with the queen? Is the queen better on e2, or do you want to play bishop d3, take back with the pawn? Maybe the center is stronger then. Or maybe you just ignore the black threat. He doesn't have a pawn in hand. Pawn in hand would be nasty maybe at some point. So bishop here, trade, and either bishop h4 or bishop g5 from a distance maybe is more of a nuisance. I'm sure I'll take back with a queen here. Not much to think about here, I think. Take with the queen, and if the knight comes, you might want to protect the queen, or you could probably just move it away. Although then maybe queen takes g5. So bishop at h4 maybe is the safest option. Taking back on f2 if black takes there. Yep. And in case if you're wondering, there's a 20-second delay, so I don't think Crazy 8 is listening to what I'm saying. And this is actually threatening. Rook takes g2, king takes, pawn h3, which would be quite nasty. Although the king could possibly run this way. So Yeah, let's go for the queen. Rook takes, king takes, pawn h3, king here, queen here, king e2, and white is safe, isn't he? That was a nasty move by Morlockk, and I think that's it. Yeah. The black attack is just too strong. He can take on f3 if he likes to, or he can mate in 2. Nice game there by Morlockk, who equalizes. He's won 3 out of the last 4 games. And I think white was doing just great there. But maybe he wasn't. Here, white is clearly the better player. He has the better position. But this was just too dangerous. Nice here. Very nice attack by black. So what happens here? Anything can happen. They are playing sort of a main line. In the famous knight offer variation. Someone asked me the other day, is there a Berlin defense in Crazy House? Well, I think maybe this is it. Very popular, but white didn't take the piece. And we have a position. This is very usual, pushing the h-pawn, making this rook a bit active. You can keep pushing the h-pawn. But did black just blunder something here? Did he blunder a pawn? White took here and on d5, threatening the pawn on c7. And this is getting very sharp, threatening the knight on d5. And when you have a knight in front of your king, you always think twice before you capture it, because that knight is as long away from the king as he can possibly get, more or less. But black decides it's worth a tempo to pick up the knight. But I must say, I think white should be better here. Maybe pawn d6. He's going for safety instead. Indeed, this queen has some problems finding a safe spot. And probably black is thinking about knight h3, taking on f4. Bishop e3, taking on f4. Morlockk thinking for quite a while here. So black does sort of a combination of those two. If black can get his hands on knight now, there's always a possibility of queen takes g2 when knight checks to follow. So you need to be careful here with white, and Morlockk is actually behind on the clock. That's a bit unusual. I guess black needs to waste a move getting his queen out of the way. Taking on f4, bishop g3 seems very natural. Bishop is pointing this way. And here actually black decides to give up his queen. So what happens? He did have two knights in hand, so it was very dangerous to take the queen. Maybe it was a forced mate, I don't know. No, I'm not playing the Elite Arena. I'm a weak player. I enjoy playing some 1-0 Crazy House for fun, and well, the occasional 1 hour arena or so. The knight on e6, covering c7, giving black time to pick up, but this is what is happening here. He'll take here and promote probably. It looks like white is winning here. Indeed. Nice find by Morlockk. And that was that must have hurt. Black is fine here. It could have checked with, yeah, I did check with a knight. And actually black isn't fine. I wonder what happened here. That was actually safe. Yeah, I did. I misclicked. No, I didn't. Well, what happened now? Let's watch the last game. Maybe it's not the last game. I don't want to jinx Crazy 8. Let's watch the 12th game. Oh, did I win or did I lose? Because usually I only play a few games and maybe even one, and then it's like I sit and work and my fingers start itching. I want to have some crazy hours, and then I play a game or two. I rarely play a long series. It does seem as if Black had a trick here. He got the knight to f4 early, which means he could either trade it or sacrifice it. Trade makes sense, and sacrifice, well, you always have compensation in a position like this. Oh, I lose quit. That's unusual. Usually I want to punish anyone who wins against me. Yeah. So this is clearly compensation for Black. Pawn g4 probably, putting pressure here in the center and on the knight. Also you have, you can, when you take here, queen trade could come. So Black opts for the pawn trade first, inviting a queen trade. This is certainly not ideal for White. I think I prefer Black here. But it's not over by any means. Unless Black has found a precise way here. The check first. Well, you need to go ahead. And do you check on g4 also? Well, you can't possibly take it here and then allow h5 and a queen trade, right? Yeah, oof. So looking a bit shaky here for White, but he's alive. Yeah, there was another idea. He could have run with the king, maybe. But let's see what happens here. Queen h3, pick up the knight. Not sure what Crazy 8 is thinking about. You need to go to G1, I think. And the problem here, I see it now. Bishop takes, queen takes, pawn G2 looks natural, but then, bam! Queen takes D1, rook knight takes, rook E1 followed by knight E2. So you need to play something else as White. And that's why I don't play the lead arena, because I'm too lazy to calculate when I'm playing myself. But maybe White has everything in order here. He's actually counterattacking. Watch out for stuff like bishop takes a knight h1. Is it possible now? I'm thinking bishop takes, king takes, knight h1, go back, pawn f2, king into the corner, and then take the rook maybe? Or am I hallucinating? Crazy 8 is fighting for his life here. And there's queen e3 coming here. Queen e3, pick up the knight, promote. Ooh. Yeah. And Morlockk finishes with 4 in a row and is through to the next round. Thanks to both Crazy 8 and Morlockk for a very interesting series of games. And if I didn't congratulate already, congratulations to Morlockk. Did I just congratulate him twice? I don't know. Let's have a quick look at the last game. So this is the thing when you push your pawns early. You might... Yeah. So notice this. The computer thinks this is +3, and then all of a sudden, okay, you just give a piece for a pawn. This is a long-term positional sacrifice. Now he thinks it's +4.5, but the position is really easy to play for black. +6 even, okay. +6.5. So apparently the way to go was to take the pawn. Okay. Someone mentioned it in the chat. There is an escape route here. And indeed, it does look as if white is safe here. Or maybe it isn't. G5. This looks crazy. Knight takes. Queen here. Yeah, weird position. But apparently the other way was just bad. This is bad for white. This is usually how I lose against the computer. Let me just show you the idea I was mentioning. This seems very natural, but there's a forced mate here for black, which I'm very proud I found. I wouldn't have found it if I played the game myself as white. But Crazy 8 sort of got his defense together here. Especially now. And he missed a mate in 10 here. Fascinating. He only has 2 knights and a queen, but given that he has G7 covered, this does look very natural, actually. Let's say pawn takes, you have, this is made in just a few moves. King F8, Queen E8, King goes up, you just take here, and King takes, Queen G5. So king here, and yeah, very pretty. Queen d7. And so on. Okay. That would have been a beauty. But alas. White played knight f4, which does look very natural, but black found this crushing move. And this is just a flurry of punches from black. Impossible to keep up with them all. And white quickly succumbs to the black attack. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Quite a few of you. Nice to see you. Oh, I see that Morlockk is in the chat also. Any comments on the match? And this is a pain in the ass because the chat is 20 seconds behind as well. Let's see if Morlockk types anything. Anyway, we will have a really, really strong candidate tournament. As I mentioned, the winner here is playing, yeah, very tough match. Congratulations, Vladimir. So you're through to the next round, playing either Spinal Tap or Garnet 1, 2, 3 for a place in the candidate tournament. Further down in the loser bracket, we have Zixon playing the Lone Wolf, and the winner there will take on either Charkvoz or Maple Kev or Embrati. Who else do we have here? Burkow, Anjo Nakamura. So quite a lot of strong players in the losers bracket. And here I think the players here are already qualified, or am I wrong? Yeah, Wolf versus Zixon, and I think I will have the opportunity to stream that match as well. I would love to, since Morten Zixon is a friend of mine, and obviously I'm rooting for him. I hope he will reach the candidates, which he did last year, finishing in the top 5, I believe. Fellow countryman. So is it like this? I think Suanet and Clearcast are through, as is Bugzilla and Mugwort, and Blitzbullet and Little Plotkin. Are they through to the candidates already? Fumitox and Legion Destroyer. Can anyone in the chat confirm that the players who've reached the 6th round are through to the candidates? It would make sense. So the semifinals and the final, I'm not sure why they're playing these games, but maybe they will get some sort of oh, it's finished already. Yeah. So they won't play anymore. Yeah, why would they? So we have a bunch of players ready for the candidates already. Swanet, Clearcast, Bugzilla, Mugwort, Blitzbullet, Little Plotkin, Fumitox, Legion Destroyer. Congratulations to all of you. And here in the losers bracket then, Esken will play Blix LT, and Master 10 will play Tranquilizer, and one of these four will go through to the candidates. And here we have Burp Cow, who will face either Math Ace or PKNM. Joe Nakamura will play either Jeremy Durham or GRX Bullet, and the winner there will go through. And one of these four will go through to the candidates also. And down here, yeah, we already spoke of these guys. So, soon we are ready for the candidates, and I can't wait. This will be a true feast. Do we have... Yeah, there's a Crazy House Arena also. And look who's entered. Crazy 8 has entered the arena. The Elite Crazy House Arena. We have some strong players here. Clearcast. Die Blaue Sau. Obviously Crazy 8. Tranquilizer. Who else? Green Beast. Who's Green Beast? 32 games. Maybe you guys want to watch a few more games? Yeah, why not? So, Die Blaue Sau in the lead. And he has a very nasty threat here. Queen D8 mate, which explains why Black doesn't play Knight E2 immediately. And did that really help Black? Still a threat of mate. If, yeah. So now there is a threat of Queen E7 followed by Queen D8. Black is doing his best here, just to plug a pawn here on E7 every once in a while. And now, it looks like Knight E2 might be a threat. Yeah, probably safer to put a pawn here, because otherwise the queen takes, knight check here, and queen or pawn D7. And I'm curious, knight H3, pawn takes, rook G2, bishop takes F3, looks like forced mate. Let's check it afterwards. I think Black missed a forced mate there. Now he only has 0 seconds left, so that's not a lot. Let's go to the end. And indeed, Black missed a forced mate here. Check. Rook G2, king takes, bishop takes, and, well, there it's a forced mate in 5. This is the toughest defense, but then you can take E5. Yeah. Let's say bishop takes, queen here, and pawn, the pawn you picked up on E5, pawn G5, mate. So that would have been nice. Clearcast isn't playing at the moment. So let's watch Die Blaue Sau. And some of you are still watching. I thank you so much for hanging around. Mm-hmm. And these symmetrical d4, d5 lines, they are just way more positional than e4, e5 lines. This looks like a nice move, I think. Putting pressure here and here and here. And on the bishop, obviously. White wants to pick up a pawn for e7. And I'm thinking, wasn't there some sort of tactical... Yeah, never mind. The e6 pawn push open up for bishop takes c7. Notice that black is very weak here on the last rank, so a pawn somewhere could be very dangerous. I suppose you could just take the bishop. Then the bishop isn't hanging anymore, and also this knight is deflected from the defense. I would have preferred to do it the other way around. Take f4 first. Because then it's really dangerous here around the black king. And this is just an illusion, the white attack, because the knight is covering g7. Obviously there's a mating threat on g8 now, but it's easily defended. Maybe I would have preferred to defend with a rook instead. Yes, so you would have the queen to place somewhere in the vicinity of the white king. This is always nice, picking up pieces with check. And surely there is something forced here. Yeah, noted this bishop covering c2. But if I'm not mistaken, there was something for one, wasn't there? Or was I hallucinating? Yeah, here. Take on f7, because then you can put a pawn on e7 again. So this was just good, but since there was an even much better move, it was a mistake. And here you can just take on c7. I don't understand this, but here you should have taken on g2, but I was thinking bishop takes here instead, like this, and then take here. Yeah, it's good for white, because if the bishop moves away, it's starting to get really dangerous around here. Let's see what happened. Queen takes, bishop takes, f takes. And here bishop e5 is strong. And from that point, I think black was just winning. Yep. Okay. Back to the arena. The Blau is out in the lead. And Clear Cut isn't playing. Tranquilizer is playing the Blau. So let's watch this. So, is there a forced mate? Or will white have to defend a little bit? And notice that black only has a queen in hand. So queen here, and yeah, maybe even just a bishop on g1. And obviously queen d7, or take on d6 and queen d7 is a huge threat. And is it even possible to defend? Because like if you play rook d, don't waste your rooks now. Play bishop g1, because you want to have a rook to deflect later on. Let's say bishop here, rook d8, take on d6, pawn takes, and then rook e8. But what's this? Take here, check on d7, pick up f7. It's mate in a few moves. So the Tranquilizer wins. Let's have a look at that position. Yes, this is winning for white. And knight e5 was a strong move. And apparently rook at g1 was the best move, I think. this was good as well. Yeah. So didn't matter which piece he put there, and it's forced mate. Okay, so maybe we have an interesting tournament. Crazy 8 is moving up and playing Die Blaue Sau, who starts with f4. And f4 is probably a very bad move, I would say, because it weakens the king's position, but unless you find a way to capitalize early on, it might be good for white after your castle and you have a semi-open f5. But this looks good for black so far. Yeah, I was thinking maybe bishop h5 to put some pressure here on the queen. Also protecting f7. White cannot take twice here on e4 because take because of queen d1 mate. White needs to be a little bit careful about pawn takes, which leaves c2 vulnerable to knight checks. At the moment, the queen is protecting c2, though. So this actually threatens to take on d5. Maybe it's time to move this bishop away, so you threaten knight g4. And that's very aggressive. Let's say the knight takes here. Black's idea is to get that knight and then check with one knight on d3 and the other one on c2. So you threaten this knight and then you're prepared to give your life, and white cannot take on d5 because of the knight check. And obviously white sees this threat. So queen takes probably. No, obviously pick up this with check. And black won a lot of material there, didn't they? Just be careful here. With the black queen out of the picture, knight takes c6 is a beautiful mating pattern. But now you can take on a8. And this is close to mate. It is mate. Rook here. Queen takes c6. Checkmate. Ooh, that game should turn around quickly. And let's see what the computer thinks about f4. That's minus 2.6. Is it the worst move for white? Maybe. What could be worse? This is minus 1.8. I think f4 is the worst move. 2 question marks. And black reacted quite okay in the opening, gaining a clear advantage. But pawn e2 was just too aggressive, it seems. Yeah, white should have played pawn b2 here. Gives a lot more of possibilities later on. So it seems all this was good, actually. Nowhere to go. Rook b8, you just drop another pawn here and it's over. Nice game there by Die Blaue Sau, except for the first move. So I don't think I will be following the tournament, the whole tournament, but actually I think I'll call it quits. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon. Maybe even tomorrow. Let's see if we can. Let's see if we can raid someone. What's this? I'm not sure what's happening right now. Yeah, okay, what happens now? Never mind. See you again, maybe even tomorrow. Bye bye for now.